Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the park. We are the Southeastern Massachusetts Community Concert Band, and this is one of our favorite places to play. We're so glad to see so many people turn out for the music tonight. Magic in music is like the secret ingredient that transforms sound into something truly enchanting. It's that inexplicable quality that stirs emotions, transports us to other worlds, and connects us to something greater than ourselves. Music has the power to evoke memories, inspire creativity, and even heal emotional wounds. It can lift us up when we're feeling down and provide solace in times of sorrow. Whether it's the ethereal beauty of a symphony, the raw energy of a rock concert, or the infectious rhythm of a dance track, music can move us in ways that just defy explanation. In tonight's concert, we will examine how some composers use their music to describe magic. We all know that no magician can perform those enchanted transformations without that most important incantation word. Okay, you guys are cheaters. You already know that. Thank you. Composer Frank Kelly describes how he developed Abracadabra. He says, throughout the composition, I was thinking about magic, not in an evil or frightening sense, but as a source of fun and fantasy. My wonderfully playful, sometimes mischievous young son was always in the back of my mind, as were images of Halloween with its costumes and jack-o'-lanterns. As this piece reaches its conclusion, the music rushes toward what seems to be an explosive finish, but the woodwinds interrupt, as they do sometimes, fanning out to a questioning whole tone cluster. You'll know it when you hear it. They're answered by a puff of sound, a final disappearing act. So now that you know where the composer was coming from, sit back and enjoy Abracadabra as we let the magic begin. Thank you. We would like to thank you for having us here tonight in Capron Park. We love this site. Special thanks go to Derek Corsi, Superintendent of the Attleboro Parks and Forestry Department, for inviting us to play in this lovely space again. These summer concerts, which kicked off last week, are made possible by the Samuel M. Stone Memorial Trust and the Ernest H. Augap Fund, and we really appreciate the funding to make our live music possible. It came to my attention as we were setting up tonight that there is a Boy Scout here, an Eagle Scout, Ryan Mata. Ryan, wave your hand over there. He's right over there in the corner. Ryan is working on an Eagle Scout project that a lot of you are really going to appreciate. You see the benches all around the pavilion here, and there's more benches over on the other side of the park. Ryan is working to refurbish all of the benches at the park. And that's a fabulous project for the community. Now, as you know, nothing happens without a little bit of funding. So if you are so inclined, Ryan has a jar over there, and he is taking contributions because they're going to replace all of the wood in all of the benches at this park. So that's no small feat. So thank you, Ryan, for taking on this project, and thank you to those of you who can make a contribution. Sometimes, the magic of musical compositions comes in the form of their timelessness. Our next selection is one of those. His Honor is a spirited and lively march that showcases Henry Fillmore's characteristic style and knack for writing catchy melodies. It's become one of his most popular and most frequently performed compositions. His Honor is dedicated to Charles Chapman, a former mayor of Miami, Florida, who was Henry Fillmore's lifelong friend and enthusiastic supporter. This is His Honor March. When You Wish Upon a Star is a song written by Lee Harline and Ned Washington for Walt Disney's 1940 film adaptation of Pinocchio. The original version was sung by Cliff Edwards in the character of Jiminy Cricket. You hear it over the opening credits and in the final scene of the film. Given the dramatic contour of the melody and the well-crafted, optimistic message of the lyrics, the success of When You Wish Upon a Star isn't really surprising. It won an Academy Award for Best Song, was named by ASCAP as the most performed feature film standard, and was declared the 7th greatest song from a movie by the American Film Institute. The tune has also become the official anthem for the Walt Disney Company. This is When You Wish Upon a Star. Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, begins with our hero, Tamino, being chased by a giant dragon. As the dragon closes in, our hero faints. He's magically saved from the dragon by the Queen of the Night. To help our reluctant hero, the Queen of the Night bestows on him the power invested in the magic flute. In this fairy tale opera, our hero navigates all sorts of dangers. At the opera's conclusion, we're left with a myriad of magical feelings. Satisfaction that the good guys have won, secure in the knowledge that true love conquers all and that goodwill prevails over evil. The moral of this story? The best fairy tales end happily, and Mozart's music still remains fresh and enchanting after more than 230 years. This is the Magic Flute Overture. And now for something completely different. Leroy Anderson's Bugler's Holiday is a virtuoso piece that features 3 trumpeters. American composer Leroy Anderson has written many, many popular songs for the Boston Pops Orchestra, including The Typewriter, A Christmas Festival, Trumpeter's Lullaby, and Sleigh Ride. Bugler's Holiday has become one of Anderson's best-known compositions and is performed frequently worldwide. This piece is often included on concert programs celebrating Independence Day. In keeping with our magical theme, we will perform the piece with not just our usual trumpet trio, but our entire trumpet section. This is Leroy Anderson's Bugler's Holiday. Our next piece is The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Composer Paul Dukas based The Sorcerer's Apprentice on a poem that Goethe wrote 100 years earlier. The poem tells of a sorcerer who can turn a broomstick into a real servant. Who wouldn't want that, right? The sorcerer's apprentice overhears the magic formula, and one day when the old man is gone, he tries it out himself. Sure enough, the broomstick does his bidding and starts bringing water from the nearby river to fill his bath. But there's a little problem. The apprentice doesn't know how to turn the magic off, and the broom keeps coming back with more and more water. As the water in the house begins to rise, the boy desperately axes the broom into pieces. And if you've seen Fantasia, you know what happens next, right? To his horror, each piece of the broom starts bringing in yet more water. Amid the chaos, the sorcerer returns home. The apprentice is feeling kind of bad. "Sir," he says, "my need is sore. Spirits that I've sighted my commands ignore." The sorcerer gives him a glare, says the magic word, and restores order. Composer Dukas uses solo instruments to create a sense of uneasiness in this piece. Loud, fast sections are used to represent the apprentice's lack of control of his magical spell. And finally, the composer chooses to use the bassoon, portrayed as a bag of sticks, to play the part of magical broomsticks. This music was featured in Disney's Fantasia. Anybody seen it? I used to have a copy of it on VHS. But it's a great piece, and to see the animation with the music, you can close your eyes and imagine that. With Mickey Mouse, of course, playing the role of the apprentice. This is Sorcerer's Apprentice. Did you ever wonder how the Wicked Witch of the West became so wicked? The musical Wicked, of course, explains it all. Wicked is the prequel to The Wizard of Oz and goes through the life of Elphaba, a nice girl, until the disapproval of society turns against her. This is the story of how Elphaba becomes the Wicked Witch of the West, and it involves love, loss, hatred, envy, and the rejection of anything that is different. Composer Stephen Schwartz uses uncomfortable harmonies, complex rhythms, and often dark sounds to describe this land of Oz before Dorothy and Toto arrive. Our selections from Wicked will include No One Mourns the Wicked, Dancing Through Life, No Good Deed, For Good, and Defying Gravity. This is Selections from Wicked. Now, no magic-themed concert would be complete without a little Harry Potter. Cars fly, trees fight back, and monsters are on the loose in Harry Potter's second year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. J.K. Rowling's imaginative storytelling presents an array of broomstick-flying wizards and mail-delivering owls, offering us a wonderful canvas for mystical music. Composer John Williams, master of film score writing, creates haunting melodies that draw us into this magical world. Let us, as mere muggles, enter that magical world now. Step into Harry's wondrous world. The National Emblem March is an American march composed in 1902 by Edwin Eugene Bagley. Bagley composed the score during a 1902 train tour with his family band. He got frustrated with the march's ending, and he threw it away into a wastebasket. And can you imagine, after working on a piece of music, just tossing it in the trash? Well, members of the band were having none of that, and they retrieved it from the trash when he wasn't looking, and they secretly rehearsed the score in the baggage car. Bagley was surprised when the band informed him minutes before the next concert that they were going to perform it. National Emblem became the most famous of all of Bagley's marches, and despite this, the composition didn't make Bagley rich. He sold the copyright for just $25. Listen carefully to the euphoniums and trombones, and you'll notice that Bagley incorporates the first 12 notes of the Star-Spangled Banner into this piece. John Philip Sousa was once asked to list the 3 most effective street marches ever written. Unsurprisingly, he listed 2 of his own, but he selected National Emblem as the 3rd. This is where I check in with the conductor briefly. Whew. Our next piece, Armed Forces Salute, is a medley of the 5 songs of our armed forces. Each of our military services is saluted in this medley, with the exception of the United States Space Force that does not have an official song at this time. The Army leads off with the caisson song, followed by Semper Paratus, the marching song for the Coast Guard. Next comes the Marines hymn, followed by the Air Force's Off We Go into the Wild Blue Yonder. The medley concludes with the Navy's Anchors Aweigh. Our armed forces have always defended our freedom and allowed us to maintain the quality of life that we enjoy here in America. The cost of that freedom has not been cheap. with many of our brave men and women offering up that last full measure of devotion to protect our way of life. We play this medley to honor all veterans and active members of our armed services and to give them thanks. If you are a veteran or have a loved one who served or is currently serving, we ask that you stand and be recognized when your song is played. This is Armed Forces Salute. In 1893, Catherine Lee Bates, an English professor at Wellesley College, took a train trip to Colorado Springs to teach a summer class at Colorado College. Several of the sights on her trip inspired her, and they found their way into her poem that became our next selection, America the Beautiful. Did anybody here play trivia? Okay, well, you know what? Next time at dinner, you can amaze your friends with this little factoid. During the Kennedy administration of the 1960s, there was an unsuccessful movement to have America the Beautiful replace the Star-Spangled Banner as our national anthem. We hope you enjoy this arrangement of America the Beautiful. Waterfalls have often been thought to have magical powers. In the little town of Corbin, Kentucky, in the heart of the Daniel Boone National Forest, there's a beautiful place called Cumberland Falls. At almost 70 feet tall and 125 feet wide, it is often called the Niagara Falls of the South. This is an especially magic place, as a rare phenomenon called the moonbow can be seen during the full moon, and it's the only place in the Western Hemisphere that moonbow can be seen. Cumberland Falls Overture is programmatic music. That means it's a piece that seeks to convey specific imagery throughout the musical. The beginning depicts the gentle flow and humble beginnings of a great river. Faster tempo suggests that we're headed for an exhilarating adventure and maybe a little white water. Aaron Copland's theme from Appalachian Spring surfaces just as the river transforms into great torrents of sight, sound, and energy, spilling us over the edge of the falls. Come float along and catch the current with us in the Cumberland Falls Overture. The Walt Disney Animation Encanto follows a multi-generational Colombian family, the Madrigals, whose children and grandchildren receive magical gifts from a miracle that helps them serve the people in their rural community called the Encanto. When Mirabel, the youngest daughter, learns that the family is losing their magic, she sets out to find out what's happening to save her family and their magical house. Composer Lin-Manuel Miranda uses Colombian folk tunes and South American dance forms to create the enchantment for the village of Encanto. We hope you enjoy this piece. We are the Southeastern Massachusetts Community Concert Band. Our band was established in 1976 in Medway. We're currently celebrating almost 40 years of music making, from intimate indoor concerts to performances in parks and gazebos and pavilions across eastern and central Massachusetts and as far as Martha's Vineyard. That was a great bus trip. The community spirit that was a key ingredient in 19th and 20th century community bands is alive and well in our band. Indoors or out, we offer performances for a broad range of musical tastes. Our roster currently has more than 40 musicians of all ages, as you can see. We don't audition musicians, we welcome them. You only need an instrument, a music stand, and a love of band music. Anybody play in high school or college? Okay, we have a chair for you right over here. Okay, we are an open seat band. So don't leave your clarinet crying in the closet. Bring that forlorn flute down off the shelf. Treat your trumpet, trombone, or tuba to a night out. Instruments want to be played. Come play with us. If you're interested, see any of our musicians after the concert and we'll be happy to give you more information. What would a magical concert be without dragons? Dragons are wonderfully magical, fire-breathing creatures that speak to the imagination of young and old alike. The music of How to Train Your Dragon takes us to a mythical Viking world where a young Viking teenager named Hiccup aspires to follow his tribe's tradition of becoming a dragon slayer. After finally capturing his first dragon, he discovers he no longer wants to kill the dragon, but he wants to befriend it. In the story, Hiccup and the ferocious dragon he calls Toothless, the most unlikely of heroes, must team up together against all odds to save both their worlds. Composer John Powell has drawn upon his roots of Celtic music to guide us into his magical world of dragons and Vikings. This is How to Train Your Dragon. Thank you. It has been a pleasure to play for you tonight. We love this space, and we love seeing so many people turn out for the concerts, and it's a great space. Don't forget, Ryan, our Eagle Scout over here, is accepting contributions to his Eagle Scout project. He's going to rehabilitate all of the benches in the park. John Philip Sousa's greatest march, The Stars and Stripes Forever, was born of homesickness. Sousa composed the melodic lines when he was touring Europe with his band. In an interview, Sousa explained, quote, "I began to think of all the countries I had visited, of the foreign people I had met, of the vast difference between America and the American people and other countries and other people. And that flag of ours became glorified. And to my imagination, it seemed to be the biggest, grandest flag in the world, and I could not get back under it quick enough," unquote. The three themes of the final trio were meant to typify the three sections of the United States. The main theme represents the North, the famous piccolo piece represents the South, and the bold trombone counter melody represents the West. Did you know that Sousa wrote words for this march? I didn't until I got that from the conductor. Here's a sample of some of the lyrics. "Let martial note in triumph float, and liberty extend its mighty hand. A flag appears mid thunderous cheers, the banner of the western land. The emblem of the brave and true, its folds protect no tyrant crew. The red and white and starry blue is freedom's shield and hope." This is our final piece for the evening. Thank you for joining us. We wish you safe travels on your way home.
are the Southeastern Massachusetts Community Concert Band, and we thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Drive safely, stay cool, and have a wonderful week ahead. And don't forget to seek out the magic all around you. Good night.